Namaskar and welcome you all for this most awaited live event, the Big Talk. Before we commence our Big Talk, it's my pleasure to introduce Swamiji, Brahmachari Maheshwara Chaitanya ji, who would light the lamp of knowledge with the blessings of our Chancellor, Mata Amritanandamayi Devi. So over to you, sir, for lighting the lamp. लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु। So Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. So we have our honors of Swamiji lighting the lamp. Let the entire world be peaceful and the people living in the globe be happy. Thank you so much, Swamiji, for this lighting the lamp. Now let me introduce myself. I am Professor Medhul Krish. I'm reporting to you from Amrita Vishwavidyapitham, Ettimade, Coimbatore. And before we start our session, it's my pleasure to welcome all of you once again, as well as our chief guest for the morning, who is going to address us on various informations on the paramilitary forces. Now, सारे जहां से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हमारा, हम गुलगुले हैं इसकी, एक गुलिस्तान हमारा. We have in fact heard the name paramilitary forces, and in fact I would again say in fact for the fact that I'm indebted to this particular force for many reasons. The first reason would be appropriate for me to inform you all that our Chancellor, the world-renowned spiritual leader Mata Amritanandamayi, is guarded by the CRPF. Thank you so much for that. That's number one. Number two, my father also served this force and retired from CRPF in the year 1975. The third thing is that my eldest brother also served this force and retired about a decade back, about 10 years back. So I personally has lot of regard and respect for this particular force, the CRPF, Central Reserve Police Force. We would have heard various paramilitary forces starting from Assam Rifles, then we talk about CASF, Industrial Security Force, ITBP, Indo-Tibetan Border Force. We have BSF, Border Security Force. We have SPG, the Special Protection Group. We also have SSB, Sahasrama Beam, right? Force, that's again the sixth one. But among all those 10 lakhs of people who are serving our country through these paramilitary forces, it is not out of place for me to mention that CRP has over 30 to 32% of the total force. That's about 10 lakh, 3.2 lakhs of people are working for the Central Reserve Police Force, and it is a large force, the biggest of the paramilitary forces in our country. It was earlier maybe Mr. Pauly sir, whom I did not introduce because I want him to talk about himself during the course of this discussion. What I would like to mention now is he is serving, he is Mr. P.P. Pauly, who is now the Deputy Inspector General Police Central Reserve Police Force, Hyderabad, and he's talking to us from the Hyderabad campus. So I, in fact, wanted his brief profile, but then I felt it is always better for us to listen to from the horse's mouth. So before we begin this, I would certainly request Mr. Polisser to start off with what is the CRPF? What is this force is all about? When did this force start? How big is this organization in terms of number of battalions? And what type of services we render to our country? Over to you. Let's hear from you, and a special welcome to you, sir, Mr. Polisser, for being with us this morning. And let's all jointly welcome him on behalf of Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham to this most awaited talk, the big talk. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. It is an honor and great pleasure to be associated with patriotic and one of the best educational institutions of India, Amrita Institute of Engineering, as well as other schools. It's a matter of great honor for CRPF to be introduced to the boys and girls of your institute. Very often our citizen know police and the other is the army. Between them, every day there is several forces. There are several forces operating and giving their sacrifice to the nation. CRPF is one of them. Let me introduce yourself to the largest paramilitary of the world, that is Central Reserve Police Force. The origin of CRPF was in 1939, 27th July, as Crown Representative Police. That is before the independence, it represented the Crown to have a control over the princely states or any type of violence or law and order problems in states. After independence, the vision and far-sightedness of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel ensured that this force continued in the Union of India as Central Reserve Police Force, and it has done its part in integration as well as till date maintaining the internal security of the country. We, the CRPF, is specialized on internal security, but there is not the last and the only task. CRPF is a multifunctional, is dedicated and committed to all type of duties as and when it is arisen. It starts maybe from the regular law and order duties all over India to the core of Naxal areas, to the anti-terrorist duties in Jammu and Kashmir, to the insurgent areas of Northeast, and the list continues. And CRPF is the nodal agency for the election. Whenever the election takes place in India, it is CRPF which takes up the responsibility to provide security not only to the candidates, to the polling booths, as well as to mobilize the forces to each and every polling booth in India. Other than that, be it natural calamities, be any other requirements like today the pandemic COVID has come as a bolt on the population. We are all suffering because of it, and CRPF is doing its part, shoulder to shoulder with the police. CRPF is ensuring the lockdown. Not only the lockdown ensurement, other than that, we have given our food and rations, shared the food and rations with the needy, common people, has provided medicines and other requirements. The Madadgar, we have a line, we have a Madadgar which has supported more than 10,000 requests for various assistance during COVID. The CRPF, erstwhile Crown Representative Police, after becoming the largest paramilitary, is now at 246 battalions, and its presence is in every state, giving its service on law and order to the anti-terrorism duties. It has its part in NSG. It has its men in NDRF. It has its men in SPG. These specialized forces are fed through the personnel. The personnel are deputed from CRPF. CRPF has a long history. It has watershed achievements. The first of which, as we all know, it's the hot spring incident on 21st October 1959, where 10 CRPF men attained martyrdom, the memory of which is commemorated as Police Commemoration Day. Every police, every state, each and every uniformed personnel commemorates their martyrs, those who sacrifice their life for the country is commemorated on that day every year. And it's a pride for CRPF that the martyrdom of CRPF became the commemoration day. Thereafter, Sardar Post in Ran of Kutch became a gallant display of armed forces against the institutional military movement of Pakistan. On 9th April 1965, a full brigade of Pakistan Army was repulsed by 2 companies of CRPF in Ran of Kutch, Sardar Post and Tuck Post. It is written in golden letters in the annals of history. It is observed as Value Day. In war conditions also CRPF 1971, war also CRPF participated and earned more than 22 gallantry medals. When coming to the internal security matters, Punjab and Tripura like states which had terrorism rampaging continuously in late 80s and 90s, it has been cleared and we have regained peace in all the states. Parliament attack, which happened on 13th December 2001, it was aimed at the highest altar of democracy to damage the Indian democracy, but CRPF repulsed the act and killed all the militants before they could do anything or enter the parliament. There are number of such incidents to enumerate. Ayodhya, where we have completely killed all the militants before they could enter the gate. Kashmir, various locations in other different Fidayeen attacks, they are all repulsed by CRPF. Coming to the national natural calamity scenario, Orissa cyclone, Gujarat earthquake in 2001, tsunami 2004, and KK flood 2014, latest in Kerala 2018. CRPF has been undertaking rescue and relief and has given self-service. CRPF is serving not only in India, it has its history in Indian peacekeeping force. Indian peacekeeping force, Sri Lanka, as well as other UN peace missions. Hope I am audible and clear.
Yes, you are audible.
Some echo is coming.
No, it's audible. As far as I'm concerned, it's audible.
Okay. So we have our UN missions in Kosovo, Liberia, Haiti, Sudan, and similarly at various places. So the CRPF is giving its life and blood to the democratic structure of India, to the integrity of the nation. And it's an everyday affair to take out the entire paramilitary, including CRPF, BSF, ITBP, SSB, NDRF, and when we consider all the paramilitary forces, each day you will not find a day when a supreme sacrifice of martyrdom is not attained. We wage the war every day. It's not an institutionalized, it's not a conventional war, but a war on insurgency, a war on terrorism, a war on left-wing extremism, as well as all the evil, nefarious designs inside the society. And that is CRPF. And I'm happy that Amrita Institute has taken the initiative to introduce the paramilitary to the children.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pauly, briefing extremely well on what was the beginning of CRPF and the type of services they have done internally, and also the future of the CRPF for the nation. Now, it's almost going to be 81 years now. I think this year we're going to celebrate the 81st anniversary of CRPF raising, and wishing you all the best for this force from Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham. We generally start the clarification. I won't say the question. We don't question anybody. The clarification is done by our Swamiji, and the first question to you, Mr. Pauly, will be from our Swamiji. Over to you, Swamiji, for the inaugural question for the day. Over to you, Swamiji.
Oh, thank you very much, Krish. In fact, I am so fortunate to, question the most, what do you say, the most valued person for the country. In fact, my question is again targeted towards the youth of the country, as Sri Pauli suggested. In fact, youth is the key of success for any country. But then I doubt whether our youth are so much aware. You explained it so well on the contribution, about the contribution of the entire military forces, or on those who safeguard the entire country. In fact, we are able to do this conversation just because of you. So how will you take it, you know, and what is the contribution of such a kind of valuable or values, ones who love the nation? Or how do you think that this kind of an attitude or this kind of value can be incorporated in an education sector? Because in general, the society believes that values can come only through education. Is it so? Is it true? Or how will you see that these kind of nationalist values, the culture of the country, can be retained through the youth? What is it that, you know, suppose if you are given a major position in education sector, what will be your contribution in education to bring such a kind of attitude?
Thank you. I hope you are already on the right path. I should congratulate you for that thing. Awareness of what our national heroes are doing. Rightly pointed out by some film heroes that the real heroes are the army, the armed forces, the paramilitary, and all those who are doing their service to the nation, and not the heroes which are shown in the films. We have a hero culture where we think beating a villain and becoming a hero. And the patriotic feeling is not being brought out. And the first stage for that is the right path which you have chosen, is the awareness. We should know what our patriotic, the servants of the nation are doing, and what are the sacrifices that the forces are making to make them happy citizen or a peaceful atmosphere in the country. That's the first stage. Second, definitely it's more interactive stage. That is, I know Amrita has been doing it, taking them to the real living conditions of such forces, where they come to know how they stand, how they live, how do they get themselves prepared for the fight, whether it is war or an insurgency situation. So that comes out to from an awareness stage to a one-to-one interactive stage. That is the second stage. And ask me, I will say Israel has the best citizens in the world, and perhaps a stint in such forces, maybe for a small time, an attachment or a brief stay with the forces, a slight some period of training with them, and some patriotic, some nationalistic teaching with the life. You may teach them, in books, you may teach them in media, and it may not be getting to their livelihood, may not be getting into their daily routine. If it is, we are able to inculcate such a practice, nothing like that. But NCC definitely is an introductory stage of that. We can take a bigger bigger involvement of students, the youth, to such activities. They can be taken to the core of places where you can say people visit Taj Mahal. But I don't think very few may be visiting hot spring. It's really tough to go there. I should say with the conditions now, the China standing in front, it is very close to that border only. Hot springs. It's on 1959, the CRPF made the supreme sacrifice with the Chinese troops only in 1959. So the situation is similar there. But let us take the children around where the heroic sacrifice of the forces have taken place. They should be educated about. There had been, I remember earlier, some TV serials on Paramveer Chakra, and it used to inspire. Definitely, I used to be feeling goosebumps when I used to see it. Yes. Such serials or maybe films which depict the correct sacrifices. Definitely now the film fraternity has come to understand the importance of such military and paramilitary situations. In many of the films, they have definitely shown great achievements as well as activities of military as well as paramilitary forces. And some of the pictures have been a big hit also. Big hit too. I need not mention one of them. Many are there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pauly. I would, with Swamiji's permission, when did you join the force? Which year were you into the CRPF?
Yeah, it was long back, 27 years back. 1993, I joined as an assistant commandant.
Okay. Generally, they say that when I used to be a kid, you know, I've been seeing, CRPF from 1969, when my father was posted at Avadi Group Center. They used to say CRP, that time force was not there, it's only CRP, not CRPF. They said CRP full form is not Central Reserve Police, it's called Chalte Raho Pare. Right? I'm sure you would also heard about Chalte Raho Pare. I wanted to tell the viewers as to how many transfers you had from 1993 and which all places did you move. After your training, which was your first place of posting and which battalion was that?
Okay. It's very difficult to count the movements, let me tell you.
Okay.
Because you rightly pointed out, CRPF was and is the force which is on the move. Chalte rahe pyare. Yes, we are on the move. On all counts, on all requirements, CRPF is the first force to move ahead anywhere. So I think I started at our training institute, ISA, extension at Nimach. From there, I had gone to the battalion headquarters in Mokamaghat and then moved to Tripura. Those were the days of T.N. Sheshan, who wanted central forces to ensure the peaceful elections. So we had elections in various states, had the train as our living accommodation, moved across various states, thereafter reached Delhi and then Srinagar. There I had almost 1.5 years of stint. Srinagar, thereafter coming back to Delhi. Then Delhi, I had a posting to RTC Avdi. That was where I had 4 years of continuous and static posting. Then I had gone back to Northeast, that is Meghalaya, followed by Srinagar. A month after, again back to Tripura. A year after, back to J&K. Almost 2 years thereafter, as promotion, as commandant, I was posted to Chhatra, a very remote place in Jharkhand, which is bordering the Bihar, one of the, what you can say, deep dens of Naxalism in those days. 2010, 2008, I reached in Chhatra. remained for 4 years. Thereafter, I moved from Chhatra to RAF, Rapid Action Force. It's a part of CRPF. Rapid Action Force and Cobra, they are the two specialized forces within CRPF, which I would like to mention. Rapid Action Force is the peacekeepers to the nation for the exactly equipped and trained to deal with communal riot situations. And Cobra is the commandos operating against Naxal, left-wing extremist Naxalism. So these are the two specialists. So I had the privilege to command 2 battalions, one at Hyderabad, 99 battalion, 1 year in 99. Thereafter, I went to Coimbatore, 105 battalion RAF, where definitely I had some interaction with the Amrita Institute for the first time. They had come over to 105 also to familiarize with the forces. After that, I went back to J&K, Srinagar, where I had 4 years of internal security and counterinsurgency duty. In 2019, March, I was promoted as DIG. Thereafter, after a month plus, I had to continue in Srinagar because of the elections. I came to Hyderabad in June 2019. So I'm here for 1 year now. So it's a long journey, 27 years from assistant commandant, deputy commandant, and to IC, commandant, and now DIG.
So I think it is more of not Chaltar Hopare. I think you would have gone almost 27 years across Bharat Darshan. I think you would have gone across the country and not staying in those metro cities. And I heard you say that you used to stay in your house or the accommodation was the train compartments. I mean, it's a tough life. I'm sure the viewers are going to realize the toughness that those paramilitary forces and the defense people are going through. And your family would have missed you quite a few occasions where you would not have been able to take your family, accommodate them at the area you are working. So something, I mean, this is something which we need to all understand. We are all sleeping today peacefully. Daytime and the night is because of you people. I think we compliment you for the services rendered to the citizens of our country, and we are really honored to hear such sacrifices being given by the uniformed professionals in keeping the peace and security of ours. Spending long. For example, people say Siachen Glacier. People don't know how much is the temperature there. And I used to see the Jawans and the defense people staying there with a gun on their hand. I think it is minus 30, minus 40 degrees. And you said you are in Coimbatore. You were in Coimbatore for about 2-3 years, commanding the Rapid Action Force here. And people don't realize how much is minus 30, minus 40. Here, the moment the temperature comes down to 27, 28, we use sweaters. So imagine the condition of our soldiers who are guarding those glaciers. I mean, it's tremendous. I think you're not just the uniformed professionals. I think most of us, everyone who are the citizens of our country, should regard you as the God, the Almighty. I think we salute you. We pray for your wellness and for your family, sir. Now, the next question is, how do people now? I'm sure many of us would have watching or been watching us, wanting to join CRPF, and I understand that you have an entry as a constabulary, you have an entry as an assistant sub-inspector or sub-inspector, or you have an entry as DAGOs, directly appointed guest officers, as you have joined them at at ISA, Internal Security Academy at Mount Abu. You said you did your training there. So how do people join, and for what are the qualifications, what are the age required to join in all these 3 or 4 categories of entry? And from the next question would be, if somebody joins as assistant commandant, would we reach the level of a assistant or what do you call ADGP, additional DGP, or would be able to reach the total DGP's level? That's who is the top number 1, who is the leader who is handling this entire force. So I want to give a clarification on this for constabulary age and qualification, ASI age and qualification, SI age and qualification, and maybe you have this, you said RTCs, CTCs and ISAs and academy. A brief look into this, because our children are not aware of it as to how they would like to enter. Because if you ask a child, what do you want to be? Sir, I want to be an IPS officer, IPS officer, nothing beyond IPS officer. You know, okay, not everybody can be an IPS officer. So what are the other ways to swallowing your khaki uniform is to get into this para. So please over to you, sir. Let's talk about constabulary. Person who wants to join as a constable, what is his qualification, what is the age?
Okay. So I was planning to go the other way around.
Okay, let's go into officer.
Yeah.
Let's go into
Let
officer.
us, let us give them the best
Okay,
dream.
fine.
So assistant commandant, that is the examination conducted by UPSC. You have a basic degree, and that's enough. Eligibility criteria is only degree. You can, the same is with the UPSC for central services also. You call it IAS, IPS, or any other allied services also. The basic qualification that you require for the highest appointment is degree. You need to be within 20-25 years. Then you need to have the height of 165 height. That is the minimum height requirement. The chest requirement is 80-85. Need to be a bit physically active. You need to have certain physical test which will be conducted. That definitely you will need to qualify. The running, as well as there are short duration as well as long duration run, plus various other physical requirements. Other than that, the basic qualification plus the UPSC conducts examinations every year for the paramilitary forces. It is a combined examination for all the paramilitaries, which will be conducted by the UPSC in different phases, the written, the physical, as well as interview stages. And once you reach to the assistant commandant, you get trained as assistant commandant. It depends on the vacancy as well as the availability of posts. Your question that when or where he can reach, yes, definitely with the merit, with the performance, anybody who joins at a very younger age can reach ADG level as of now. Yes, in future, we can even hope for becoming the DG of the forces also. So this is the first and the topmost opportunity, assistant commandant. Everybody goes for the training of UPSC examination, the prelims and mains, etc. And this is definitely next choice to them if at all not equal to them. I don't say it is the job of or the profession of a CRPF officer is not a cakewalk, let me tell you. It is definitely challenging, but equally rewarding as well as satisfying. Satisfaction doesn't come in a monetary level only. You have a mental satisfaction, personal satisfaction, when you feel you have given your life to the nation. You have sacrificed your time and energy, your youth, your life to the nation. So that satisfaction you receive. And challenges, let me tell you, will be there every day, where you are including your stay, your men, your movement will be challenging, but it is equally rewarding. The pay and purse, let me tell you, it is equal to the other central services. Pay and purse are equal to the central services. The promotional avenues may be different, or in future it may become equal or maybe better in that case. After assistant commandant, the next stage, there are sub-inspectors and ASIs. Both are the GD, that is, we call it as general duty, executive battalions, where you may require 170 centimeters height, 20-25 years of age, then basic degree as a qualification. So you have the staff selection commission, the examinations are there for the SI level executive duty GD battalions. Also, since Amrita is having engineering institutes, I would like to more focus on some of the engineering avenues. We have started an engineering wing in CRPF. There is a recent addition where we have the SI civil appointed recently, last 4 or 5 years plus. We are taking civil engineers both at diploma holders and assistant commandant engineer not yet appointed. It is on the way. I hope will be coming in a year or two. That is for the degree holders for the civil engineers. Other than that, we have ASI draftsmen who has qualified the diploma courses in draftsman courses. SI technical is that is the engineering degree holders. They can directly get appointed as sub-inspector. Technical in signal battalions, we have got battalions which control the communications. So they should be specialists in electronics, electricals, and communications, telecommunications, and even computer sciences also. So they are prepared for SI technical, ASI technical for the diploma holders, sub-inspector, radio operator, and crypto is also very limited, but at some times they are also being recruited for the signal battalions. The requirements are only degree requirements. Now you come to ASI steno, which is a clerical job. It's a cadre. It has a man joining as ASI steno may reach deputy commandant or maybe in future to IC. So ASI steno, it requires again +2 qualifications only. Other requirements are same 18 to 25 and height is 165, chest 77 to +5 for the expansion. Ex-head constable ministerial, it's a large number of vacancies. Basic ministerial recruitment is now done at constable ministerial. Their requirement, ASI steno, they may require stenography. Proficiency in stenography will be required, and HC ministerial, they may require proficiency in typing. Other than the qualifications which I enumerated earlier. Now let us come down to the largest and the ground force, that is appointment as a constable in CRPF. A constable basic qualification is only metric, physical height 170 centimeters for the general. Relaxations are there for the scheduled tribes. The chest requirement is also there. It is similar to other appointments, 80 +5. The relaxation for the tribes may be 76 +5. The age criteria is 18 to 23 for the Jawans of general. Other than general, you have OBC and SC ST relaxations equal to every all India other services. 3 years for OBC and 5 years for relaxation for SC ST. The physical requirement for the efficiency test, PET we call it, that is for the constables is 5 kilometers for male and 1.6 kilometer race for females. CRPF has the history of the first Mahila battalion, which was developed way back in 1986. Thereafter, now as on date, CRPF has 6 Mahila battalions. It is leading the paramilitary in Mahila battalions, representation and the Mahila strengthening. Thereafter, ITBP and BSF also has now Mahila battalions. The written examination for the constables, they have got 75 marks for general knowledge, general intelligence, and general elementary mathematics. Then 25 marks for English or Hindi, either they can go for. The minimum and merit will depend on the minimum for the general is 35 definitely, but the merit will depend on the availability of the student and the vacancies. Merit list will be prepared and thereafter they can take up the training. Coming to the training, RTC recruit training centers are available on various places. For that, Kerala also has a recruit training center in Peringom. Avdi has a recruit training center. Similarly, on various other places, including Srinagar, we have a recruit training center. So constables get the training of 55 weeks, almost a year, in training center. SIs have their training in central training centers, CTCs. They are, one is it is in Coimbatore itself, CTC to Coimbatore. Other than that, we have the same CTCs available in Neemuch, Mutkhed, and various other locations, 3-4 locations. Assistant Commandant, as I said, is trained at ISA Academy. Now it is more called as CRPF Academy. ISA is now an institute for or an academy for internal security, where it is imparting training not only to the CRPF or to the administrative services, IAS, IPS, as well as other state police about the internal security scenario of India. I hope there is one more. I think I should not leave that also, because medical is another profession. The CRPF has a medical cadre also. We have doctors joining, MBBS doctor joining as assistant commandant, and specialists who have been specialist doctors joining as deputy commandant. So that is the 2 levels they can join up medical course, and it is highly challenging as well as rewarding job. We have hospitals all across the country. We have doctors performing their duty in duty battalions, each duty battalions, and in Cobra battalions there are 2 doctors each to cater to the medical needs of the battalion people. Thank you very much.
Thank you for lovely explanation, Mr. Pauli. You would like to listen to my knowledge on the particular ranks of paramilitary forces. I will put Swamiji for the second question. Before that, you start off as a constable, then you come up as a ASI or a head constable, then you go as an SI, sub-inspector, then you go as an inspector, then you have something called a Subedar major, like you have a state emblem and then a stripe, I don't know what they call it. Inspector, then you go to assistant commandant, then you go as a deputy commandant, then you go as a 2IC commandant, then you go as a commandant, then you go as a DIG, then you go as an IG, then you go as an additional DG, then you go to a special DG, and you have a DG. Am I right? So yes. You give me 100 out of 100, Mr. Pauli, on my knowledge of the ranks of.
Yes, 100 out of 100, no doubt.
And one more, like most of us get confused. Like I'm sure you're the DH. I'm sure that you will have a single star in your car and sort of a triangle flag. Am I right?
Yes.
And when you get a promotion, you will have a 2-star in your car, and you will have this type of a flag, half-cut flag, right?
Yeah,
and you become a DG, you have 3 stars, and you have a rectangular flag in your car. Am I right?
Yes.
So my knowledge of
Definitely.
was
IDG ADG and SDG also has the same.
Both of them will have, right? You have a state emblem and what do you call that sound? I mean, sword and baton,
Yeah.
right? So you have a state emblem and the 3 stars.
3 stars.
Yes. So
yes.
I think you can give me 100 out of 100 on the knowledge of forces. Before I switch on to the next question, maybe after Swamiji. Swamiji is waiting for his second question to be shot at the DIG of police. Over to you, Swamiji, for shooting the next question to Mr.
So thank you for the elaborate explanation of your duties and things like that. I'm again shooting a question on the, generally the attitude of youngsters, especially in the current age. See, we all talk about the globalization. We all talk about the liberal attitude. Do you think that it is kind of bringing down the patriotic attitudes toward the nation?
I didn't exactly get you.
See, for example, okay, for example, let us say the students who are passing out from the formal university education system, most of them go abroad. Most of them go abroad, and we see in most of the news channels that, okay, this fellow is an Indian, or somebody who is securing a key position in the governmental organizations abroad. He is an Indian, or he is a Mallu, or he is from any state in India. So what is it that the country is gaining from this? Is it like are the youngsters thinking that globalization is better, and at the same time are they losing that patriotic attitude from that?
Okay, I got it.
Yeah, Swamiji, if you can, are you talking about the brain drain people leaving the country?
Exactly. We can. Yeah.
Instead of serving our nation,
yes.
they do their MS abroad in US or Canada or UK, and they settle down. Because see, as you rightly said, Swamiji, if you're a true citizens of the country, you need to give something back to the country, nation.
Yeah.
Maybe after retirement, before retirement, and the uniform jobs are giving back. Is that your question?
Exactly.
I think Mr. Bollywood have got on to the question. Is it right on somebody's part to move away from the country and serving the country?
Especially because Sri Pauli pointed that Israelis are the best patriotics across the globe. I 100% agree to that. I know some people from there. They work hard for the country, entirely for the country. I think they spend at least some time in their entire life serving the nation. Absolutely. In one way or the other. So why is it that we as Indians are not able to have such a kind of mindset? For example, in this current situation, especially when the government is pushing for a kind of local branding or local products. And it is not that we don't have enough number of educated people, skilled people. It is not that we are lacking such kind of skills. Why is it that people still think that globalization is better than or above than in a kind of nationalistic attitude?
Paul, any take on that?
Yeah. Definitely the Indian population is much higher. The avenues we need to seek outside also. So that may be the initial requirement. But as you said, yes, you need to give back to the nation because the nation has nurtured you, has brought you up, has educated you. And then it should be in their mind, it should be inculcated along with the education that they have a responsibility to the nation. And I cannot pinpoint at any system or any institution or anybody and not accusing anybody, but definitely the culture of patriotism, the feeling of patriotism, the development of self with the nation, it has to be more emphasized. The brain drain in one way, we cannot say it is totally of no use. Yes, they represent India. They name on the name, fame, and dame the money also for India from outside. But thinking that that is the end of life, yeah, the last dream of life, and that becomes a problem because they tend to serve not the nation, they tend to forget the nation once they leave the country. But there are examples who are promoting more Indianness outside India than we who are here in India. We cannot say they are unpatriotic, definitely. They have gone out for their meals, what we call their livelihood, but the feeling should be within their heart. Their activity should depict that they are more Indian than alien. And in all parts, whenever there is a need or requirement for the nation, they should stand with the nation. And many are doing it. Definitely, the educational institution and system can bring it as a part of curriculum to know the responsibilities. We have a right awareness. The human rights and the constitutional rights awareness is much better in everybody. But the responsibility, what you should give back to the nation, that is least taught, least educated, and least cared for. I hope time will come with every institutions catering to the develop the awareness, interaction, and activities along with the forces. Thank you.
So-
1 minute, Krish.
Yes.
Krish. See, as you rightly pointed out, there are a lot of students. I am not saying that none of them are patriotic, but there are a lot of students who are very much interested in working with the villages. In fact, I should point out one of my old students. He passed out from Amritapuri campus, and he's basically he's an electrical engineer. But he electrical engineer, and he ended up with marketing the solar products. But now he's a health worker working for the government of Andhra Pradesh, and he is so fortunate that he got the award from the state government for fighting with this corona pandemic from in one way or the other. So what I'm saying is that we have enough students, but the question is that how you bring in more and more such of the minds, the best minds into the system, so that it is able or we are able to contribute, just like China, just like Russia. Russians are also very patriotic, or just like Israelis. As you rightly told, it has to be a part of the curriculum. And I should also mention that we have a program called as Living Labs, where we take the students who are interested in working with villages, and they have to find out the problems faced by the villages and come out with an engineering solution, so that it is directly related with the education, their education. Okay, so I leave it to Krish. Before my last question, you can continue, Krish.
Yeah, thank you so much. I will give you an opportunity for Swami to ask the last question. The final question is from you, no doubt about it. Now, I think my explanation, a bit of what both of you have been talking about, is the parents must be prepared to send their children to the uniformed jobs. There is always a restriction from the parents to leave them to the Army, Navy, Air Force, for whatever reasons it is. I think the parents also must feel that every children in this nation are their children. It's not my child and your child, it's our child. So if that attitude comes in the mind of the parent, my son joins Army, my daughter joins Navy, and she protects the entire nation, a parent must be proud of that. I think if you are able to enlarge the parents who feel in the same way what I've been mentioning, the patriotism feel will be much more larger than that minimal feeling of India is my country, I must die for my country. So I think parents has to change their attitude. That's number one, which I feel. The next clarification which I want Mr. Pauly to let me know is, like, you have been going through in the last 27 years of various trances. Did you ever think that I should not have joined the force? Oh my God, it's a wrong choice which I took. It would not have happened. If that has not happened, which would have been your toughest tenure maybe as an AC, maybe as a DC or as a commandant or a DIG, which was the period you felt it really tough to handle a situation? And what type of advice you can give to our students that in any tough situation, when the going is tough, the tough gets going. And what are the qualities, leadership qualities that you must bring into yourself where you can handle tough situations? And after this, my question is, we are going through a pandemic. And the last 4-5 months have been a very, I mean, it has been a terrible situation that we never predicted in our dreams that a situation like this would happen across the globe. And it has been happening. And I want you to brief, maybe in the next 5 minutes, as to how you are handling as a force, both in terms of your families, your camp, and also the people outside the campus. So over to you, Mr. Pauly, for a small little brief on my few clarifications which I asked for. Over to you, Mr. Pauly.
Okay, thank you. The first question, that's about the life which I felt. Let me say no to the question because I have never felt remorse or I felt bad for joining it.
Absolutely.
It has been my briefing at the first point. It had been challenging. It had pushed me to the wall, maybe pushed to the extremes of patience and bearing, but truly it has been an encouraging and it has been personally satisfying because of the tough situations. We have come out victorious. It has made us tough. The best thing which happened to me initially was a commando course which we had to endure. There, now it is stopped in all commando courses. We had to run 40 kilometers with 23.5 kg on your back. So that 40 kilometers definitely, which you said, that was the time we used to abuse everybody who comes in between. Maybe an instructor. Yeah. But let me tell you, it helped me a lot when I had commanded the battalion in Chatra, when we had to go through the jungles, maybe a day covering 28 kilometers. I have covered 28 kilometers, not on plain grounds. We have to get into the rivers, go up, climb the hills, come to the plains, and then maybe take a detour, go around. Then 28 kilometers, we just walked like a cakewalk. I never felt it is a big task. So that toughness and coming to a part of your question was, what was the most difficult time you felt? Yes, we had very difficult and perplexing times in CRP. And the best, if I want to cite, is when you are on an operation against a Naxal, inside a Naxal bed, but definitely it is closer to a village inside the forest. You come to, I have seen Naxals moving, but they were amongst the local people, the villagers. You identify a Naxal, but you can't fire upon them because you fire, you will kill tens of the villagers, poor villagers. You are not able to identify and correctly shoot at the very real man because they are all together moving and hector shelter running across. So deciding whether to kill, to use a weapon, or just leave. Those are the extremists whom you know will be targeting you and your men whenever an opportunity comes next. It is really a tough situation. We have been facing similar situations everywhere. In Kashmir, you find hundreds of crowd yelling at you with all sort of four-letter words, and you keep your patience. You keep your men to be patient because they are not our enemy. They are part of our citizens. So that is really challenging to keep your patience when somebody is just poking at your nose. Even you know that it is wrong, but still you keep patience, because you are here to protect the public, protect the citizens. Thank you.
14 kilometers, 23.5 kilos on your body, running at one stretch. Fantabulous, fantastic. I don't know what to say. I think it is, and 28 kilometers, walking through the forest at a stretch. I mean, these are the hurdles which our uniformed soldiers go through. Kudos to you, sir. As rightly said, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. And I'm sure that each of our soldiers are tough enough to get things. As you said, it's like a cakewalk. You said walking 28 kilometers is like a cakewalk. Come on. I mean, unimaginable. I mean, we are looking at our civilians, walking maybe 2 or 3 kilometers, we get tired. We need to have a glass of water. We need to have some consolidation sitting down. Kudos. I think hats off to you, all my soldiers who was really, really taking the struggles to keep our countrymen smiling forever. Now, my next 5 minutes of yours would be regarding the current situation of the coronavirus. I mean, we read in newspapers that a particular camp of CRPF you heard about, because social distancing is one of the toughest things you can ever think in a camp like CRPF, where each battalion would have more than 1,000 people. Right, each company would have about 100 and 120 people. So distancing them from each other is a bit of a task. But then with all this, I think CRPF have done fairly well. I in fact heard a lovely song on coronavirus by all your soldiers. There was a song which they all sang by themselves. Wonderful. I think congratulations for the team of CRPF who sang that particular song. If possible, I could play it before we get off from our discussion. We'll play it. We'll try and play it before we leave. My question here is, sir, how are you handling the situation, handling the campus and handling people outside during these tough times? Just a brief on how you manage to keep both ends together. Over to you, sir.
Yes, you rightly said, CRPF, wherever we live as a family. Like one member gets COVID, it is sure that the others also likely to get because of the proximity and the life they share together. So CRPF is like a family, and moreover, we have a barrack sort of life in most of the places, where in one hall you accommodate 10 to 20 personnel in one place, and they share their bathrooms and toilets. So this becomes a very challenging and difficult situation. Plus the families we have to keep the maintenance of their daily requirements. We have to give them their rations and things, as well keep the social distancing and control the COVID situation inside. So we have been doing it with lot of difficulty. We still in CRPF has roughly around 1,630 or so COVID patients, has controlled it within the camp because of the awareness. We use the sanitizers, we use the soap, liquid soap wash, hands-free operation of things, control of the hygiene and requirements. And as well, we have the duties outside also. CRPF is performing duties in the hot zones, especially in Mumbai and Delhi. Definitely, these two places are burning with COVID situation, Mumbai and Delhi. And we are performing duties in the hot zones also. So hot spots also. So this is really difficult to control because you tend to gain. We keep distance from between the people, or we keep a mask and various other protocol requirements. But still, yes, it is tough.
It's tough. Let's pray that all of our soldiers are safe and secured. I think before I wind up my session, I would request Swamiji to be online, and he would ask the final $1 trillion, $1 million, or $1 billion question to Mr. Pauly, and then let's see whether we can hear that song sung by the CRPF people on coronavirus. So over to you, Swami, for the last question.
Okay, thanks again, Krish. Basically, my question is very simple. How you differentiate between freedom and discipline?
Okay, it's a very perplexing and difficult question. Yes, freedom has its limitations, and discipline too has its limitations. So the freedom ends when you mention about discipline, but it is in your attitude. You look at freedom as a discipline. Yes, you need discipline in freedom, and you look at discipline, you have freedom in discipline. It's your attitude. Discipline definitely requires you to say no to many things, contain yourself and control yourself. But that is the absolute freedom. Freedom to remain disciplined is not with everybody. I hope you get it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it was a lovely question, freedom and discipline. I think Swami, like me and Mr. Pauli are married, so there's no freedom at all for us. And as you get back home, your spouse teaches you as to how one could be a disciplined husband. So we have been experiencing both. So that's why the answer from him seems to be perfect. If no further questions, I think it's our pleasure to thank Mr. Pauli. Let me see whether my administrator can keep that particular song for all of us. Let me try and check. Yes, here comes. That was it. Let's see whether it is audible and we are able to see them singing the wonderful song on coronavirus. Fight against corona.
Yeah, come.
Yeah, that's there, but the sound is not to be heard. Yeah. बना के रखो कोरोना को हराना है. Yes, we can see the CRPF the band
Yes.
playing that particular song.
With you.
Yes, that's from the women's battalion. You can see no handshake, stay safe. That's okay. We can still look at them, and that's a CRPF band playing the particular song. Okay, I think you can close this video. Thank you so much, and hello. Yes, we close this video, and it was a lovely song. People can see it from the interested to listen and hear. You can see it from the YouTube. Mr. Swami, we always end up with your blessings to all those men from the CRPF. Is it about 146 battalions, 320,000 people?
246.
246. I stand corrected. 246 battalions with 320,000 people working across the country and few abroad. He was talking about IPKF and for the UN and all these things. So I think it was an eye opener for all of us. We all hear and in newspapers about the CRPF and other paramilitary forces like BSF, ITBP, Assam Rifles. But today, Mr. Pauli has thrown a light onto all those doubts and clarifications that we had in our mind so far about the paramilitary forces, and especially for those students who are listening to us and who have listened to us as to how one could make an entry to this wonderful, respected, delightful force like CRPF. I think we all need to. I'm sorry if I have to stand up and give you a standing ovation to all the soldiers of the entire paramilitary forces. You may not see my face, but then sitting, I salute all those men and women who are in the force, sacrificing their all joys of life, serving this nation. I pray to the Almighty that you all get a long life and full of happiness back when you join the family. And a small one word or one sentence from Swamiji, and then we sign off from this particular live show. Over to you, Swami. What blessings can you deliver to our men of CRPF, men and women of CRPF?
See, the first thing I would say is the last question I asked is directly connected with the way in which Mr. Pauly was answering the questions. He took all the freedom, but he delivered with discipline. So that is the learning from for all the viewers. First thing. Second thing is that we should not forget, we as the citizens of the country, the viewers and all the people, they should never ever forget the service laid out by our military forces. In fact, I should say that I had tried to enter into the military by writing NDA CDS. Unfortunately, I couldn't make through. And this was the destiny, in fact. So the patriotism should remain in the heart through all the actions in the life, by taking or by learning from people like you who are serving the nation. Because Amma always says that you are the greatest people in this country. She always remembers you. I know very well, being an ashramite for the past 17 years. She always speaks about you because see, I am somebody who has left everything, but you have not left everything. You still have the family with you, but you are working as if you have left. So we as sannyasis or the ashrami have lot of learn from you kind of people. Even we have to learn. That is what Amma says. See, that is the same with every citizen. I feel that every people should learn from you, high values you people. That is my message for.
Swami, I think as you rightly opened out, you tried to get into the defense, you couldn't, and this is your fate. I also tried to get into the defense through the combined defense service examination. I too couldn't make it, and this is what my life is all about. But then it's time to sign off, and let's wish Mr. Pauly a further progression to be an IG in the near future, and then see him as an additional DG and DG, whatever is the position that the government of India, the MHRD takes position on. So it's time for me to sign off from the headquarters of Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham, Mettipalli. So till we meet again, thank you very, very much, sir, for being with us. Thanks to the Director General of Police for permitting Mr. Pauly to talk to us and talk to the nation about the services rendered by CRPF. So till we meet again, Jai Hind!
Jai Hind.
Jai Hind. Jai Bharat.
Namaskar.
Thank you.